Gamer Dude 2088, and we're back for another ToT video. This time we're going to do 70, and I was testing out my God team pretty much. I was going through as many stages as I could using this team just to see how they fare against each boss, and boy, did it do wonders. I mean, all the way till 80, 90, I had to switch it up, but you already saw that video. Probably put an iCard if you haven't saw 90 or whatever, but chances are if you're watching this, you're stuck on 70. And I probably put a link or an iCard or something with the ToT 70 I did 2 months ago, which was August, which is the same thing. So it explains pretty much most of the strategy here, but I will just briefly go over what you should be doing in this fight. And just like any other fight, CC, make sure those ads don't move and keep the bosses controlled as possible. You're gonna bring Herman, that's the water Bassie, for people that don't know who Herman is. So you're gonna bring Herman. You're gonna make sure he keeps the ad CC. You don't need a lot of speed. I think my fastest unit was 157. We're gonna go through glyphs after the video and everything too. You could bring in Poison or Parasite. I prefer bringing in Mario, the Fire Kabir, and if you're gonna bring him in, bring in Luigi, the Earth Kabir, because they work so well together. If you haven't saw my ToT God video, you need to check that out. I explain exactly everything you need to know for those and how it works together. Fireclops is a great unit to have if you don't have him build him, because he does wonders for these ToT floors, and a great unit. If you don't have him, you can also bring in George, and George is the Air Bassie. The Air Bassie, y'all, and you using him to control the boss. That'll be the big thing, to make sure the boss don't really get turns, or if an ad looks like it's going to move because you didn't get the freezes off with Herman, then you do that. Herman also provides you the blind as well as Mario. Once you get enough of those focus marks up, so you can keep the boss from dishing out damage on the team. He will heal, but if you keep the right CC and you get things going properly, you should be able to do a lot of damage really fast. And then, I mean, your last slot, you don't necessarily need WHS. If you do have her, then use her. If you have the Air Crusader, he's fine. Really, it's just mostly getting the CDR, because CDRs are important in ToT, and if you don't have that, just whatever healer that you have, just to top your units off if they do get touched. And that's like the biggest things for coming into this fight. Just remember, CC those ads with Herman. George, CC the boss as much as possible. Stack your parasites on, and just watch the show, just go on the road. And that should be pretty much the gist of what you need to really take on this boss. If you want to know more about boss mechanics and things like that, watch the first ToT 70 video for August, and you can see what the mechanics are, or all that good stuff. And I'm sure if you're stuck there, you probably know what the mechanics are, but yeah, definitely check that one out. That should be beneficial to you, as well as this video should be beneficial to you. This combination is crazy powerful. He healed, but he dies still. He took too much damage, too much stat. Alright, so yeah, man, that combo is crazy. It's gonna suck once I start getting outsped. But this is gonna make for some really exciting content for you guys out there. Alright, so let's talk about our units here, because I guess we just do that a little bit after every video or something. Maybe, I don't know. But we're gonna start here with our DPS, the Fire Kabir. The way I see it, I mean, you could put anything in your DPS slot. I prefer parasites over poison, and since he's an easier to obtain unit, and probably plenty of you would just summon him and pass him up. I noticed even when I look through the MMEG Discord, like some of the players that's even further along in their ToT progress than I am, they have a bunch of OP units and then the Fire Kabir as their DPS, because their parasites stack and they just like do insane damage over time. Once you get enough of them stacked up and then they already gotten turns, then they just do so much damage over time. So I would recommend him over your Fire Deva. That's how I feel. I don't know. Fire Deva might be OP though, because I haven't pulled one. Nah, but I definitely recommend him over most units. I mean, if you got face like I do, then I mean you have no need to use him. But this is just me just saying, like, you don't need premium units to be able to, you know, really do this stuff to a certain extent. But this is your main DPS, and then he pairs well with the Earth Kabir because of his third skill. So, you know, Mario here, he got a blind that he can put up on everybody if he has 4 focus marks. And to just like kind of go through that real quick. Alright, there you go. And here's Luigi. So Luigi's third skill puts up 4 focus marks, and then you got a attack break and a resistance debuff, which is kind of important and critical. He's my fastest unit in this team at 164 speed. So my bad, I said 157 in it, but it's 164, which really doesn't matter, because I think most of my units, if not everybody, went before the enemy did in this fight, so it's not that critical there. And then this second skill, you're really not too worried about using that as much. It's just like if the boss gets a turn, he puts his buffs up, then you got a purge that you can use with this skill. And this is really why you want to pair him as well, is because Luigi has that purge, and that's just like insanely powerful. Like not to have that in the combo. And then Fireclops being like the god of them all because of his passive is insane, because he just increases the turns on the debuff, so that makes those parasites just really strong, and all your other debuffs that you may have land like really do like a tremendous amount of keeping the boss and the ads like all messed up. So being able to get out that extra damage, things like that, makes it good. So it's not like you're stopping the boss from getting turns. This is more like the faster way of doing it, but in the slower comp, it still would be effective if you had George, because he will keep them from getting turns on top of stacking poisons as well. But you want him at 100% crit. If you don't get that 100% crit, you're gonna have a hard time, especially during the later stages where there is very little window for error, like no window where you can be one-shotted. So that's like a thing. So you definitely want that. Then we got WHS here for practically just the reset for everybody, resetting those cooldowns so it can go faster as well. Don't necessarily need the reset for things to go. It just will take a little slower, and then, you know, just being able to sustain from that. I mean, just having like a healer just to top off your units will be pretty good. Just whatever you may have laying around. But if you do got a CDR that has a heal like her or the Air Crusader, put them in, because it just works so much better that way. Then like if you do have like other OP units that can fill one or two of these roles and what you need, then by all means, you know, use those units, because they are what they are, and then they probably have more survivability. That's like, and in most cases, I will rather have Face than Mario, because he's tankier. He'll be able to survive longer, and still do the same thing to a certain extent. But it's like, if I didn't have that option, then this will be the best option to have for that DPS slot. So that's pretty much how that goes. If you have something that can replace, then yeah, by all means, build a team that could work around that replacement unit. And then if not, then you have easier to obtain units that are possible to use for this fight. And I hope this was beneficial to you. I was going to, you know, go 60, 70, and 80, but I saw somebody in the MMEG Discord that just specifically was asking about, you know, how to take on 70. So I was like, you know what, let me do this one first, because it takes so long for these videos to render, and I'd rather, you know, get it out to somebody that can use the information now than to just, you know, put out whatever until I'm able to get to that point. So this is the Gamer Dude signing out. I will see you in the next ToT video. Deuces.